on.
All right. So we have everybody here. Yeah, good. Looks like a great group of people. Let's jump in. I maybe want to spend a few minutes. I was we had sort of an introductory call the other day. Longer, a little bit less time for questions. So we'll just mix it up a little bit here and leave some more time for any questions or thoughts. Only if anybody wants to go back to and listen to the call the other day, which there'll be some repetition. I would certainly encourage you to do that. And I think there's some really, you can fast forward, I think some really great questions at the end by some of so. But let me jump in here. Let's get going. So what I do, first I'll introduce myself, and then I want to, Social Entrepreneur Corps, I want to talk about that we view, I guess, would define social entrepreneurship. I want to talk a little bit about us as an organization so that you have some context and understand institutionally, where we're working from and certainly what our approach is to the work. I think that history and able to read about that much more, and certainly talk to the amazing leadership teams and the folks in country, be able to obviously dive deep. But let me give the short version here. I just want to talk a little bit about what we hope you will take away from this, and the projects, and then what I would say is some success, certainly from my perspective of us having done this for a while. So, are important. I could introduce everybody on our team here that's on this call, but you'll be able to meet everybody and get to know everybody as well. And we want as much as possible to have the opportunity, which through the projects, and you'll see for you all to get to know other people on the leadership teams working in other countries. But again, really blessed and fortunate to have some great people that are going to be working with you this summer. So for me, my name is Greg Van Kirk. Very briefly, I am a co-founder of Social Entrepreneur Corps and the president. Although we're not really that big into titles, it's more about get stuff done. I'm also the co-founder and the executive director of Community Empowerment Solutions, originally Community Enterprise Solutions. We really just I'll get into this, but we really see both organizations as one, certainly thinking strategically and thinking about how we go about doing the work. Establish two legal entities. The intent of the work within those entities is the same. They just play different roles within this mix, and for various reasons, it makes more legal administrative sense to have two entities instead of one. So I work really first started in 2001, 2002. I used to work in investment banking. Trust me, I'm not going to bore you with my whole story here. But just so you understand a little bit where I come from. Started in 2001, 2002 when I went and lived in Guatemala. Packed kinds of experiences that you all will be having, getting off the plane, studying Spanish. I was a volunteer, living with homestay families, things that really helped to build the foundation of this work. Before I joined the piece, before I went to Guatemala, I lived in Japan. I was a teacher and ran a language school in Japan. I worked in structured finance and investment banking here in the U.S. in San Francisco and New York. And from starting up these organizations with, I guess, just really great folks, and my co-founder Bucky Glickley, who's no longer playing an active role. I sort of moved on to some other things in his on just over the course of these years, consulting, as so has so many folks on our team. Luz, who I think many of you all know, or most of you know, very active in that. Madeleine has been very active in that. That consulting has been, working on an entrepreneurial model in post-conflict Bosnia-Herzegovina, a green project for Roma in Serbia, creating a water purification model in Guinea, micro-franchising model in Suriname, helping to scale up the micro-consignment model in Paraguay, and so just a whole variety of different consulting experiences outside of the work in the particular countries where we are. I had the good fortune to be able to teach, but throughout all of that, be it teaching or be it consulting, really this has been the certainly my primary work and passion. I also now I play a role working on certification initiatives here in the United States, which is a social entrepreneurship organization for those of you who are familiar, and we have like a fellowship as a social entrepreneurs and all that. So different things, but really all focused on the same thing, is about how do you devise dignified, sustainable, innovative models for pushed, marginalized communities, and how do you do that in whereby you're really working side with community members. So that combined back, but into social entrepreneurship, and should I see it the way that we see it? Because when we say social entrepreneurship, it can be, even after all of this time of it really coming into the particular, and particularly over these past 10 or 11 years, I would say, there's still a lot of ambiguity around what it means. So let's hack it a little bit, I think, for our purposes. Think of entrepreneurship. So there are really 4 pieces to it. Back, if the sort of how the name was established and who established it was Bill Drayton, who was a guy that I worked with at Itoka now about 30 years ago. And the way that he defined social entrepreneurship, which is what you'll see if you Google it, is it's not giving a man a fish, and it's actually, I would say, normally a woman. So it's not giving a woman a fish. It's not about how to fish. It's about revolutionizing the fishing industry. And you put into some type of a practical terminology, the way that we would define it is essentially systems changing social impact at scale. About social impact, that is, this work is all about, the work that we'll all be doing together this summer. We're changing systems, modifying systems, coming up with new systems. Obviously, the hypothesis, the premise, what we learn is that the current system isn't working. We need to change that. And then scale means about you're down and doing good work in one for one organization or with one social innovation in one place. How do we build models that yes have local context and local applicability and are locally relevant, but at the same time always pulling our up and saying what are the commonalities, what are the through lines of any model, the work that we do, is much more broadly applicable on a national, on a global level. So we want to do it at scale and always having our first and foremost social impact at the heart of what we do. So the first part. The second part is, you heard that I didn't say the word business. And oftentimes when we say social entrepreneurship, people jump to business because of entrepreneurship. And so many of the solutions, so many of the sort of the innovations that we work on, and certainly the micro-consignment model, which is our signature model for many years, takes a business approach, is a social enterprise approach. use business because that's simply a market solution, because simply in that case, it's the best way to get things done. So entrepreneurship, what would be business? It can be relief work, it can be through an institution, it can be through charity, it can be through the government, it can be, you can apply social entrepreneurship through a whole host of different types of institutions. But when we say entrepreneurship, what we're simply doing is saying characteristics of entrepreneurship, of a successful entrepreneur. So look at a business entrepreneur as a starting point. Well, we know it's about innovation, it's about risk, it's about problem solving, it's about coming up with new ideas, creativity, persistence, being willing to scrub the toilets no matter what level you're at. So that's what we know as sort of the characteristics of a business entrepreneur. Is there the success of business entrepreneurship through increased shareholder value or profitability? When social entrepreneurship is keep entrepreneurial characteristics, keep what tick and work, and to business metrics of increased shareholder value or profitability, and substitute those with increased social impact. And entrepreneurial characteristics and qualities measure by how much you've increased social impact. So that's the second part. Which approach? It's not about a thing, it's not about an institution, it's not about a specific model, it's about an approach. And it's an aspirational approach. Right? Binary, you're a social entrepreneur, you aren't a social entrepreneur. It's aspirational to try to achieve impact at scale through this entrepreneurial approach, and it's a constant work in progress. The third part, we look at social entrepreneurship, and I think as you contextualize the work and all the learning and the questions you'll be asking this summer to try to understand people's needs and wants and build pilot projects and what have you. It's really empowerment. When you think change happens, how sustained change happens through empowerment. By empowerment. Well, we would sort it in three ways in a formula. There are core components to it. The first, not necessarily in this order, is to become empowered. Anyone, you, me, anybody on this call, communities that we work with, is you need knowledge and you need skills. You need to know the how. Like capacity building programs, you think about programs, do people skills. If our job is to try to where we can add value in those, and we can, where we learn where knowledge and skills are needed and where we can be positive. That's the first part. The second part is resources, the means. Right? Becoming empowered in anything. Skills aren't enough. You need the means, the resources, right? If you can know fish, fishing is you can the analogy, you can know how to fishing is, you can learn how to fish, but if you have a fishing pole, it's not going to do you a lot of good. So resources to put the knowledge and the skills into action. The last, which I tend is probably the most important part, is incentives. So are you incentivized? Are you motivated to create change for yourself, change for your family, change for your community, change at a much broader level? And so you need skills, you need the means, meaning the resources, and you need the incentive. And just to share a personal story, I know when I was first going down to do this work, I was focused on how can people get the knowledge, how can I help people get the skills, how can I help people get the resources. And because my assumption was people are struggling, or people, don't have money, people in tough circumstances, is they already had the incentive to go putting all of that to work. And that was a big mistake, right? Because, one of the big things is trying to understand what incentivizes people. And we'll talk about this when you're in country, and there'll be a lot of readings about it too. And we're not all rational beings, or stuck in the cycle of poverty, a life of uncertainty, which so much the circumstances for so many folks that we hope to be supportive. That's very different than coming from maybe my background, my experience, or the type of life that I lead. Incentives are obstacles. What motivates us based upon our history and based upon our current situations can be very, very different. So often that incentive, that motivation piece needs to come first. You need to ask, why are people interested in something? Why is something happening? Why isn't something happening? And it's not up to the assumption that certainly financial incentives are the magic solution. Because if you think about it, people I would imagine on this call don't do what they do for money. You do it as you want to self-actualize, because you care about your family. You do it because you care about your community, and universally. So we get too much into the weeds, but people become empowered, understanding that equation, and understanding by getting to roots of where we can play a positive role. And the fourth part I would say, and then I'll move on, is make really difficult decisions in this work, like anything, but particular when you're working in a limited environment with limited resources, with limited time, and it's really important, serious stuff. So how do you go about making those decisions? And in particular, when decisions aren't binary, when they aren't black and white, but when there's gray, when it's calls. And the way to do that is you have a set of core values, a set of guiding principles. So that's the fourth, I would contend, maybe the most important component of this, and something to not just but something to actually try to live. Values. Well, you decide those for yourselves, right? But things like empathy, things like dignity, things like no harm, things like putting the community first, things like strong, innovative, things up with catalyzing solutions, right? We have our set of core values, our guiding principles that you can see on Social Entrepreneur Core on the About Us that we strive to live by. I fail every day, but that's also the aspirational piece, is how do we go about trying to make our decisions in keeping with a set of core values? Because if not, your decisions can be without any foundation, and it's going to help keep you through in tough circumstances. Social entrepreneurship, 4 pieces: system-changing social impact at scale. It's about approach to social impact using entrepreneurial characteristics and qualities. It's about empowerment, and it's about in keeping with a set of core values and guiding principles. So, organizationally, and I'm going to go through this very, very quickly, just because you'll have plenty of time to get through this. And again, you have readings on this and talking to teams there. And most importantly, really, it's about learning about the local context with local leadership and local teams about what's going on there. But, going to the original piece where I sort of gave my self-introduction, that all this really got started. But let's be very, very clear that on any of this is he, and it's much more other people, the work and making all of it happen. But the I may be in particular circumstances here because it's a narrative, right? But this started really in 2001 after I'd been in Guatemala for a while. I was working in credit. I was setting up a local internet center for the local Chamber of Commerce up in Nevada, in the Western Highlands, about 7 hours from the capital. And had 2 jobs and create a place where people could convene, come together, get into the community. So with that, created a restaurant. That's what we're missing. There wasn't a place for tourism. And so when I had a restaurant, right, I knew nothing about cooking or serving restaurants. Somebody shipped me a book. My mother actually shipped me a book that had how to cook everything, and that was what we used for our recipes, right? But this restaurant called Descanso, it was successful from the beginning, building a bunch of other complementary businesses around that, language center, trekking business, an artisan store, another internet center, the same intention of creating jobs and getting new money into communities, right? Because in these communities, no new money comes in, right, through microfinance or maybe through remittances. So it worked well, and I was the head cook, and then I ran those and then transitioned it over. And my deal with the Peace Corps, let me do this with my own savings, was that I would turn it over to local leaders, a place that I felt local leaders could take it and run with it. And we would give any money that wasn't reinvested in the business to local projects. And so we do a variety of different organizations, and eventually gave to a cook stove project. And where so much of this, sort of second key step in all of this, because I saw the incredible need for cook stoves and the profound impact that a stove with a chimney has on a family's life. Nobody was really getting cook stoves out to people, and I decided to try to start a local stove business. And through some of the talks that I've given, and you'll read some things, you can talk to our team, where the micro consignment model came about. So in an effort to try to get people cook stoves, not an effort to try to build a model or anything like that, I just get people cook stoves sustainably and in a growing way over time, right? Changing social impact at scale. Learned all different ways to do it, and eventually landed on that the best way, in my judgment, in our and working with others, get people these cooks consignment and financing mechanism. I finished with the Peace Corps. I had started some business. I had started a local education center. But businesses are still up and running in local hands. It's owned by local individuals. Educators, the Centro Explorativo in Guatemala. Those of you who are going to Guatemala will go and support that. And the tourism businesses, that's in the local association's hands. Two things, and then the stove business, as I called it at the time, stove model. And now, super fast. To finish with the Peace Corps, I stayed. Bucky, my partner and very good friend Jimmy, we did a lot of things. How do we need to be sustainable, and how do we try to scale up this stove model? There's an organization in El Salvador called Vision Spring. Incidentally, the guy that I worked with there, the consultant, the team at Vision Spring that I worked with there, a kid right out of college named Neil Blumenthal. And he's now one of the founders of Warby Parker, and that's how we have the relationship with Warby Parker, because we became very friends. But it did this consulting for Scope Foundation for Vision Spring in El Salvador, and they were trying to get people readers. They were trying to empower women entrepreneurs to go and sell reading glasses, because 95% of people over 40 need them. 95% of people in the world have them. Their model wasn't working, so I said, why not use the consignment financing mechanism from the stove for glasses? And I said, sure, sounds good, we'll try it. And thankfully. And so I remodeled the micro consignment model. Make a lot of marketing sense to be offered through something you call stove model. And at that point in time, so much of our trajectory has been driven by simply how we go broader, how do we get things, stoves and glasses, more and more communities and more places. And also, how do we get deeper? In the individual community, how can we offer more and more things that have a positive health, economic, and energy impact, and as a knock-on and environmental impact. And so we added on, we came to us primarily women, and they would work in teams of two, be regional hubs where many of you all will be in these sort of regional type places. They would go and they not just cook stoves and water and eyeglasses, but as well water filters and solar lamps and vegetable seeds, and we've got all types of other things which will come into your products. And went deep on trying to create deeper social impact in one place. And the scale, it was this one community in Guatemala to then, different regions in Guatemala in 2008 to Ecuador, 2010 to Nicaragua, 2012 to Haiti and the Dominican Republic. We worked for about 2 years on a contract with the university, but had a choice at one point in time: do we continue working in South Africa or do we work in Haiti? We both at the same time. We didn't have the capacity, so that's why we decided we could best in South Africa and focus energies on working in Haiti. So it's been that journey, and I guess just 2 points on that, and I'll move into one is in 2004, in order to help make all this happen, we started Community Enterprise Solutions, which is we now call Community Empowerment Solutions. In 2006, we realized to be able to scale in depth and breadth, and in order to be able to identify new innovations and try new things and support people, we need more people. Because people business, we're not donating things, we're not building a bridge and leaving. We need people continuously over time to create and iterate, right? That's what social innovation is all about. I didn't want to hire an army. We didn't want to look for millions of dollars in grant funding and spend all of our time on that. And we also wanted to be agile and flexible and get continuous new ideas from new people, be able to learn. And so that's how Social Entrepreneur Corps came about. There might be opportunity to have start off, undergraduate students come down and not do your typical study abroad or not do your typical go somewhere and try to figure it out, but really work within a structured program side by side with our team. Much from what we had learned works in the Peace Corps, but making it very focused for a shorter period of time, and very quickly having, you all having students integrate with our team who are doing this year round. So that's how the Empowerment Solutions came about. That was a nonprofit that we set up Social Entrepreneur Corps separately for insurance reasons. And well, on the ground, as you'll speak to, we built enterprise in Guatemala, which is called Soluciones Comunitarias, and that really became the brand for our work, Soluciones Comunitarias, everywhere locally. Already it's called Solcomio, obviously because Creole, not in Spanish. So that's the first part. And the second thing just that I wanted to touch on was, and you all are going to be going on we'll be on this learning journey with you. But, we're continuously on a learning journey. Somebody who's been doing this for 6 years now. It's a continuous learning journey. And things that I've learned, that we've learned personally, organizationally, is really about the arc of this journey. When we first started, when doing this work with local folks in Guatemala, it was great jobs. How do we solve health problems? How do we help to get more money in communities? How do we help people to get knowledge? Right? Think about empowerment. And so an education center, a library, a restaurant, a business. I worked on a rabbit project, stove model, all of these things. Right? Find the problem, understand it, and build together an opportunity. So we with this place of empowerment, being somewhat agnostic as to how it happens. And then the micro-consignment model, and that was our signature work, and that's what we worked on over time, on how could we really scale that and help others do it and see how it works, and what are the different things that we could deliver through it. And diminish that at all, but a place where it's really about not us working and focusing on the micro-consignment model in where we work, although we do that to different degrees in different places. But with the micro-consignment model in particular, it's about how can we help other organizations outside of where we work use this and scale with it. And after having the knowledge is how do we share that sort of IP, because that's where we're going to get the greatest impact from the micro-consignment model. In addition, again, all about it's about empowerment, building and creating new social innovations where they're needed. And so we started agnostically focusing on just how can we help empower. We end our time in the micro-consignment model with social entrepreneur core, like you all helping us to make all this happen. And then a couple of years ago, turned back to, well, there are a lot of other things that we do that we've been doing, whether we're framing our work correctly, and that renamed the community empowerment solutions. That's what you can see, the projects that you'll work on that I'll speak to in a follow-up session. Yes, certainly about the micro-consignment model, but it's also about how do we build out youth programs, how do we run personal development, how do we support community finance, community banks, and in particular also how do we help provide consulting support for other organizations that are doing tremendous work and be struggling or can't take advantage of opportunities in the countries and in the regions where you'll be. So I think that arc and understanding where we are and the diversity of different things that we want to do is not a change. It's actually who we've always been about. We focused on one thing in particular with most of our energies for a long period of time. So last two pieces is what we take away from this. I mean, our sort of we want you to say that, this is one of the most profound experiences of my life. It will be certainly going and doing this in my case. When I was in shoes, it was certainly that and totally life. But in particular, what we hope you do is take away empathy, right? That you trigger your empathy. And I mean by that is you're working different cultures with different people, not just people that live there, but people within your own teams. Within each team, and you're from different schools, you need to first and foremost be empathetic to your team members. Right? But, how do you get that empathy and how to work across cultural differences? How do you learn how to work across ideological differences? How do you learn to work across financial differences, educational differences, right? And so living with and working side by side with folks continually, they trigger that empathy, and that's something that you carry with you what you do. That's number one. That is the foundation from certainly my perspective. A part of adaptive leadership skills. I'm sure you or everybody on this call is a leader. Right? How can we enhance that skill set? How to make very difficult decisions when there isn't a vision. Operate in uncertainty and make a decision. How to operate in the gray and make a decision. Make decisions as a leader when uncomfortable, when you're doing something totally different you've never done before, when it seems foreign, and that adaptive leadership. And that, if you can take away that perspective and sort of stronger sense of yourselves as adaptive leaders through this work, you success. For teamwork, worked in a team in some capacity, working in a time-intensive and an intense situation on stuff that really, really matters. It isn't about your team achieving something for the good of the team, but it's about your team achieving something for the good of the community. Through that, so taking away some of that collaborative entrepreneurship skills. Right? In all of this, I'm not saying that this is all that you become a social entrepreneur. You work in the nonprofit sector. These sets, these mindsets, these approaches are things that you take with anything. And the last part is obviously that you take the skill sets of how to go about doing this work, some of the technical aspects of it, and certainly the perspectives. The last part, I mean, there are so many, and our team will share with you their own personal and authentic, what they believe are the really keys to success and what's made them able to, survive and thrive in this work. But I just kind of a few things as unsolicited advice. One is flexibility. I guarantee you that what go wrong will go wrong. Plans and those plans will not work out. Be flexible. Frustrated. Have a mind and an open heart. Here is, can't help it. We come with our own perspectives, our own ideology at times. Land and be open-minded as you possibly can. Understanding that you bring so much to the table, as well, that open-heartedness, and that those two things come together. And I know it sounds a little cheesy and cliche, but I can't emphasize it enough. Work. We work teams. It's the only way that we can innovate. And the question has got to be, how can I help you? How can I support you? What can I do for you? That you're proactively trying to help out other teammates, be it local teammates or be it mates who you're sitting next to on the airplane. Get your comfort zone. I saw a quote at some point in time. It's like, it begins at the end of your comfort zone. You will have your comfort zone. Be okay with that. Being uncomfortable is fine. It's you to expand your comfort zone. Learning journey. Right? This whole is a learning journey, and it's just a part in your overall learning journey. Look at it as that. The last part is have a sense of humor. I know that the thing that in so many times in difficult circumstances doing this kind of work, it's kept me. It's just laugh at yourself. Deprecating humor, right? Take your work seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously, and have a good time. Also obviously in all of this, you're going to work hard. We'll all be able to have voice and choice in everything that you do. We want to treat professionals. I treat you with trust and kindness and continuous support, for safety and security. You have fun. So you'll have some adventure, most definitely, while you do this. That in 2 months from when you're done, 2 years, 20 years, this experience will in some ways be a part of who you are and what you do and how you go about doing it. You're a Wall Street banker, you're a nurse, lawyer, you're a teacher, whatever. This broad applicability, and so then we can reflect and internalize how to do that. So I talked a little bit more than I had planned, so forgive me, but thank you again so much for having joined us and for taking time out of your summer, be able to invest it alongside of us in doing work in these communities. It really does mean a lot, and it makes a really big difference. Any comments, thoughts? There?
Yeah, So if anybody has any questions, you just have to unmute your mic, maybe introduce yourself and tell us where are you going, where you're traveling this summer. Let's see.
That's fine. You don't have questions. Don't worry about it. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Yeah. There are no bad questions. Um, if you got a few minutes, want to jump in with any thoughts or comments? Please do. Feel free. Lucy?
Well, no, just like I think, I was just thinking that, after so many years, it might sound like, I've heard, part of this many times, but, don't you ever get bored? And it's true. It's like, actually, it's always new. And it's always very helpful even for me, that to refresh, right, social entrepreneurship and really, I guess like this is like the zoom out for me, right? And so I really enjoy it when, every day just they're focused, right, on the little details. And so I like even also for like the rest of the team who's like, digging very deep in the, planning and the work on a daily basis, like this was like refreshing, right? And kind of like, starting the day and there was like sunny, right? And clear. It was really, even after like, being with you for like quite some time, it was just helpful. I love the zoom out a lot.
Give it a minute or two. If anybody has questions, certainly go off and go have dinner, or Luz, you can go to see Maria Luz is in Italy, for those of you who don't know. So that's dedication and passion. Certainly after 10 years, right, Lucita? But I was reading something today that when you speak out loud to yourself, I think it's to paraphrase, somewhat to your point, Liz, that you get this way, you learn, like, or things, I don't know, more something along those lines. Somebody can find it. But goes back to the point of when you teach out. And I think just my point being is that, certainly when everybody's really about it, engaging in and not afraid to have conversations and sharing, everybody brings so much to the table. Underestimate what you do, and the more you speak to it, the more you put in a little context, then the more it reinforces with you. So yeah. Bien. Anything about safety, security, health?
Hello.
Please.
Hi, Greg. It's Audra. I'm calling in from Guatemala. I'm a field leader, and so, just for of immediate questions that are coming up from interns and consultants that are heading our way, I just wanted to do a shout out and say hello to everyone and let them know that we're hard and eager for everyone to come down. So, likewise, any questions or just to let everyone know the excitement that I have down here to getting started and really digging into everything that you mentioned before. It is really great to hear it as well and to get a little background and so we on the same page when we get in country. So, and hello everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Audra. And by the way, if anybody's looking up on their map of Guatemala, you're going to have a really hard time finding it. It's the nickname for
yeah.
That's what everybody calls it. Well, thank you. So, if we don't have anything else, thank you all so much for your time, and look forward. I'll be down and see many. I look forward to seeing you. That's actually the most inspirational thing for me, frankly, being able to work with you all. And certainly I know for, just says for our team. So have a full morning, evening, afternoon, where you might be. And Luz, go get a good night's sleep. But thank you so very much for putting all this together.
Thank you. Just final note, you will receive a message with a link to the recording so that you can, eventually if you want to, get, reflect on like some of the points to touch today, you will be able to do so anytime. Okay, I guess good night.
Good night. Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you.